Greetings, Hellspawn, and welcome to a very unique bonus episode of Wizards, the podcast guide to comics. On our main episodes, we cover every issue of Wizard Magazine in depth, and during that process, we often explore the comic book movie news and rumors of the time. Now, as a result, on our Heroes in Motion Patreon tier, we have launched the 90s Super Cinema podcast series where we actually watch and discuss the results of those rumors. And this April, our patrons voted for the 1997 Spawn movie from New Line Cinema, which, despite not being a huge blockbuster in theaters, certainly had a ton of hype and merchandising behind it. So, in order to get the full picture of the promotion efforts for the film, and basically because my 90s Super Cinema co hosts Michael and Pete could care less about this topic that excites me to no end, I've invited two Spawn experts to share their findings from decades of obsessive research and fandom and collecting. So, first up, it's a man who has made it his mission to share Spawn excitement with the universe 24 hours a day. From the Daily Spawn archive accounts on Twitter and elsewhere, we're excited to welcome Sterling. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, very excited to have you. And of course, returning to the podcast, if we're talking Spawn, we got to bring him back from hell. Seems like he's ready to raise a little along the way. It's Ty, aka the Spawn Hunter. How's it doing?
What's up, guys? Glad to be here again.
Sterling, you post a lot of publicity photos. A lot of the research you're doing, you're finding behind the scenes images and things like that. So, are there like deleted scenes or like costume variations, things that you've noticed as you kind of sift through and search for that archival media?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of deleted scenes I've surprised to discover, especially even going through the screenplays too, where um and going through the trading cards, also seeing deleted scenes of more scenes with Wanda Blake and Al Simmons like before he died, because there'll
Oh,
be
so when they do that montage, they were actual full scenes.
yes, full
Oh,
scenes, and then there's other deleted scenes in there where I think was it Jessica Priest was supposed to return as a cyborg.
what? That's crazy.
Right. That
Really?
that's why they put her in that was it dry ice box or whatever. It's supposed to be like, oh, they're supposed to carbonate her to for her to return as they think in the script they called her a Terminatrix.
All right. Now, here's the thing. So, at this time, obviously, Todd McFarlane's enjoying like a massive amount of success with McFarlane Toys. I mean, he had his comics moment, but really he's kind of pushing beyond that now. So, let's talk a little bit about the Spawn movie action figures because I just remember them being promoted everywhere. And so, obviously, like in the basic assortment, you had, Al Simmons, you had Jason Wynn, you had the Clown, you had Jessica Priest, you had just like, the standard like combat Spawn, I think they call them, just looking like Spawn with guns to hold. There is Spawn without the mask, but still the suit. There was the burnt Spawn, like the homeless looking Spawn. And then there was a deluxe attack Spawn where he had like giant wings or something, or his cape was just big, shredded, and then a giant Violator and Malbolger, like all these, deluxe figures. So I'm curious, like, for you guys, what do you think is the most impressive of those movie figures? And
It was definitely heavily promoted, like you said, and the ones that everybody was buying and everybody definitely leans to prefer out of those that series is the Spawn guy, right? The Spawn actual figure with the mask and the variations at the time. Again, it's the lack of Google, the lack of the message boards or anything like that. It's not like they were, oh, did you know that there's this variant? Did you know there's a something released in another country? So everybody was just buying the Spawn figure, and when you look at it, it is a really well done figure, especially grabs the texture and that shiny look of the movie costume. I have to say there was not much I guess attraction towards the other characters like Jessica Priest or Jason Wynn, but the clown was very popular too. They did really a fantastic job with the clown. It really captured the John Leguizamo look and the Violator figure as well, the bigger deluxe size. So I have to say there was huge anticipation for the figures. They were easily to obtain because there were not that many. And like I said, the variation talk was not yet there. So if you had collected all 6 figures, you felt complete. Oh, I did it, right? But then, oh, well, did you have the unmasked guy? Oh, did you have the mask guy? Oh, did you have the weapons guy? So then it got a little crazy, right? But out of that set, to answer your question, my favorite one has to be the Spike Spawn figure, and in this case, it's a variant that was only found in Japan. There's a
Wow.
Japanese sticker. So this one I really like because it's fully costume Spawn with the mask and with the spikes. So it gives it a nicer look. This figure, you could also find it with the box set that came in a kind of like a fish tank type casing. So you could get that figure as well with the spikes. But that is my favorite figure out of the movie figures.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know about that one. That's wild. And the other thing that I think is interesting is they also released these play sets, right? So there were like 3 different play sets. Well, you could get the alley, you could get the what's the other one? The graveyard, right? And then the funny thing to me is the final battle, which is like the lowest stakes set, in that movie. It's like, we're gonna have a fight in a living room in a suburban home, the Fitzgerald family living room.
Out of the fireplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
but
supposed to be. Yeah, that was supposed to be like the budget friendly ending was supposed to be originally.
And did you know that there's a variation out of those sets? For the Spawn Alley playset, you have a variation package which comes with Todd McFarlane as a figure in one of those sets. So there's a set without Todd and there's a set with Todd.
That's awesome. Okay, so and I wanted to ask about that because yeah, they did definitely have, this tribute, right, to the creator of Spawn. He gets a cameo in the film, you see him a couple times, and then they released this Todd the Bum figure, which is hilarious. And so my understanding is there was a bagged version that was given away at like Toy Fair, like at the trade show itself. And then there's like the exclusive, like fancier packaging one that was offered to the collectors club members. But is this the only time that Todd did an action figure of himself, to your knowledge?
As far as I know, figure wise, that is the total of figures that they made. The little figure that came in the bag, which also it's the same figure that comes with the Spawn Alley playset.
Okay.
And that same figure, only probably if you want to say 2 up, it's the Todd the Artist figure that came in the nicer packaging, and it was a collectors club exclusive. So those are the extent of Todd McFarlane being made into a figure.
Okay.
A Wizards podcast exclusive. It's this prototype of the Todd McFarlane figure that we were just talking about.
Wow.
This is which is the same mold to use on the minifigure of Todd McFarlane or Todd the Bomb on the Spawn Alley playset, and it's also the regular size figure for Todd the Artist on the club exclusive figure. So this is the unpainted prototype of Mr. Todd McFarlane himself.
That is awesome. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That is so cool.
I'm not jealous,
Yeah.
not at all.
No. Spawn the album. Now, this was a big deal because they had rock bands like Metallica and Marilyn Manson and Korn and Butthole Surfers. Like, so the collection of artists is pretty interesting. But then they went one step further. They said, well, we're going to team you up with techno artists. So you get like the Crystal Method and Moby or the Prodigy, and they're going to create new songs together. And I was just like, so, just like in comic books, we love crossovers, companies and characters. Here they're crossing over these different musical artists. Now, what's interesting is this album actually reached number 7 on the Billboard charts, and it was certified gold. And I remember reading in the back of some of the Spawn comics of this time, like when they were getting ready, like, to really push on the movie, Todd was talking about like all these like special variants and things like that were going to be, different releases of the album, like variant covers and things like that. So, what do you guys know about the different releases of the soundtrack?
In classic Todd McFarlane fashion, there's one word that you have to think about when it comes down to what he does in the business, right? It's the word variations or variants. So when it comes down to the soundtrack, there was no exception. And you will find not just different covers, because you have the Santa Spawn cover, you have the comic book Spawn cover, and you have the movie poster of the profile of Spawn's face on it cover. So right there, you have 3 different covers for 3 different CDs. Then you have the LPs, which also feature a blue vinyl uh, compilation, which has the movie poster on the sleeve, and you also have the comic book cover, which was also a limited run, and those come with red vinyls. So variants again. There's also, and I have not seen this in person, but there's supposed to be a black vinyl variation of these records as well. That's just on the surface. And then you have the international releases that in Japan, you have, I mean, it was worldwide. Sony Records pushed that soundtrack hard at the time. And if you think about it, it still holds up. The music, it still holds up today. The soundtrack, it's pretty good. Like you mentioned, different bands, different styles, techno, hard metal, and everything else. So it holds up as of today. So yes, there are definitely variants out there, and it's fun to kind of collect them all. You can take it a step further and say that there's also cassette tapes of the soundtrack.
Oh,
And the cassette tapes were also released in different countries as well. And to make your hunt even more challenging, there were demo tapes and demo CDs promoting the music before it was a wide open release. So there's the singles for the Marilyn Manson song, there's singles for the Filter song, and there's cassette tapes which feature a couple of songs and to promote the album. So
oh, what do you got here for us, Ty?
so here's the sample cassette tape for the soundtrack, still factory sealed. It's not even the hard plastic case that you would typically find on these tapes. It's just cardboard, still plastic seal, and you get 1, 2, 3, 4 songs just in this album sample. And it's like Spawn the album, the unveiling of the music from the Darkland, soundtrack available on July 29, 1997. So there's that tape, and there's also this one, also in that style cardboard tape, and you get 6 songs from the soundtrack. But you gotta love the packaging, promotion, and it's all part of Sony Immortal Records pushing the soundtrack to the fans out there. So very well done. It's got the Spawn logo on the side, on the cover. So just to give you an idea of how crazy these soundtrack variations
Sure.
get.
The other thing I just want to mention real quick is obviously, there was the trading cards too. And Sterling, you mentioned that, just like with many trading card sets, there's deleted scenes. Yeah, you find, and we're going to be opening a pack of these on YouTube, when this episode comes out, just for a little bit of fun, extra excitement for you there. But is there a particular card like that stands out to you, Sterling, when you think like, oh yeah, and it shows this, and then you don't see it in the movie?
The Malboja puppet.
Oh, a puppet. Oh, so it's like the behind the scenes, like.
Yeah, they actually filmed a Malboja puppet. I was looking through the script, and turns out that the original cut that they made, Malboja didn't have any dialogue. All you just see is like just him like smiling and stuff. And I think he was only in like 2 or 3 shots in throughout the entire film, and that was just about it. But you do see like a quick glimpse of him in the "Can You Trip It Like I Do" music video. Just
Oh,
like
the puppet?
yeah, you just like the
Oh.
mouth opening. It's like a blinking you miss it, but you'll see it.
And I have to imagine the puppet mouth looks a whole lot better than the CGI mouth.
Obviously, you can even take the Malboja toy, shake it, and it looks way more better than what the hell the movie made.
Yeah. Oh man, that's wild. I mean, that makes me sad now. I wish we had that puppet version because yeah, that's wild. Now
Hashtag release the Malboja puppet cut.
That's right. The origin of Spawn is the comic books. So there was a comic book adaptation of the movie, which I always find hilarious, right? Like when the Batman movies come out, then you get, a Batman adaptation, by the actual artists and writers who write the Batman comics. And it's a weird, snake eating its tail type of thing. But there was also a novelization, which I have a copy of, and I'll be talking more in depth when we do our 90s Super Cinema episode on that, because there's a lot of fun deleted scenes and stuff in there as well, like just different explanations of things. But I didn't know, Ty, do you have an opinion about that comic book adaptation? Is that something? Yeah, ooh, graded.
So here's the 9.8 copy of that comic book adaptation. I like it because the cover, you get a full blown Spawn out of the flames cover right there, and I thought it was cool to have. I grabbed it at a really good price, and it's a one shot, right? It's definitely not something that there were 3 copies of, or no, it was just a one shot Spawn the movie comic book adaptation, and it's a thicker book, kind of like the Spawn Batman crossover. And I just really the presentation is great. It's right on point. Even the image, the eye has a violator from the movie. So, and on the back, promoting the comic book as well. So definitely, I thought it was cool to have. I like little random things like that, so I had to have it.
Yeah.
For
Now,
sure.
the other thing that Todd did is I have this, in the main continuity with issue 65. Yep, there you go. You got your graded copy, Ty. So he actually did, a movie still, live action cover with him and Spawn in the alley, all that going on. But inside there, it's just a guide to each of the characters in the Spawn universe, just like a picture of them and then like a bio. And obviously he's trying to make it a jumping on point for new readers who want to catch up with everything. But I have to ask, did that frustrate you as a Spawn reader, having that interruption of the story just to have everything explained to you that you already knew?
So the one that you just shown, which is this one, it's the cover for Spawn 65. So the inside story, it's not connected to the movie at all. It's just that he used the cover as a promotion to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
While the continuation of the comic book was happening, this comic came out around the time the movie came out. So this was a tie-in to promote the movie featuring that. The comic that you're referring to, it's actually looks like it's got Spawn in the middle, and it's got the different faces of the villains. You got
Okay.
Jessica Priest, Clown, Jason Wynn, right? That comic is actually the comic that was given out of the movie theater, and that was the guide. And that cover is super hard to find, um, and in good condition, I would say. I've seen it pop up, but because it was handed out to people standing in line or at the movie theaters, it was really, really hard to come by.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess just because when I see what's inside, where it's just like each page is a different character, I just assumed, it's just like, oh, okay, well, but
But yeah,
that's cool that they did an actual like one to hand out in theaters. That's pretty neat.
yes, that one I mean, you can find it. I like to find one in really good condition, and it's been very, very hard to find in good condition.
Yeah, doesn't have
Yeah,
popcorn grease and butter all over
Yeah.
it.
yeah, I have my copy. Yeah,
Oh,
luckily in good condition.
did you get it that day or did you get it after the fact?
Oh no, like years later.
Okay.
Uh, uh, was it popcorn butter free?
We
Because
gotta
I
talk, Sterling. We gotta talk.
yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
like it. The other thing I wanted to bring up is this. So every movie that came out at this time had to have the official movie magazine, the making of the movie thing, and it gives you all the behind the scenes stuff. The thing I find interesting about this is that Wizard in like an issue like a couple months before the movie was coming out said, "Oh, we're working on a Spawn special magazine for the movie and it's going to come out." And then ultimately when the movie happens, they just do like 16 pages in an issue where they have all the stuff they must have been working on. They wanted to release a full special. So I don't know if you guys ever heard anything like where Todd just decided to let Titan Books produce it instead of Wizard for some reason, cuz like it's fine, but it's really like bare bones, and even like the the printing is not great, like the stills for the movie and stuff. And I'm just like, Wizard would have made this thing look beautiful, and this way it's just kind of like, ah, it's generic. Although I am very excited when I see Spawn with Kiss in there, because those were the McFarlane figures I was collecting. So
That particular promotional item, let's call it, there are so many different ones
oh,
over different countries. So you can pick up one from Japan, you can pick up one from I believe there's a Russian one, and they all look the same, black cover, just like that, only released from different countries. So I have been trying to pick up all. I have 4 different editions of that making of booklet, and it's just part of the crazy hunt of the variants.
yeah. There's like one page of Spawn merch. And so you have like a couple t-shirts, you have a mug, you have some shot glasses and things like that. Oh, there it is. So it seems kind of where Todd seems to be all about merchandising and hype. It seems like a very small offering. So I'm curious, what are some of the more unique Spawn movie collectibles you guys have seen in your researching, or that you've actually been able to add? Like Sterling, are you again? You're putting up different things every day online. Is there a certain like promo item, whether it's a baseball cap or a shirt or something that stands out to you?
The Spawn crucifixion necklace.
Oh,
That's
wow.
just kind of like, if you don't know the context to it, it's like, it's kind of, imagine rocking that at your religious grandparents' house. You get the spanking of a lifetime. Oh, is that Jesus? There you look. Like, what?
Whoa, you have a piece of the fence? Wow, Ty rocking a piece of the fence that Spawn was impaled on in the movie.
That's right. So this is an actual, I guess we could call it a prop from the movie. It's made of metal, but it has these features here to lock into place. So when Michael J. White was hanging, it could hold his weight and gave him that crucifixion look. But this is part of that fence. If you watch that movie, then like Sterling mentioned, there's that reference to.
Wow, that is
Someday I'll
so
get it
cool.
signed by Michael J. White. Hey,
Can I appeal you on this, Michael J. White?
Yeah, can I get a little bit of your blood on it? Come on.
Ye-
Is there something we haven't covered that was either part of like a promotional event that you're aware of, or again, just like something kind of weird they put out that they thought would get people's attention?
I would say, which I wouldn't see this today, is part of the promotional was this match book of matches. These are real matches, not a not a prop, and it's got the promotion for the Spawn the movie, right? And it's got the Spawn poster picture, New Line Cinema, August 1st, Spawn. So matches, right? I think that's unusual, like especially today. Hey kids, here's matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially putting your face on the one thing that killed him.
Yeah.
That's a good
It's like
point.
it's like putting Batman's parents' face on a gun. It's like, what?
Yes,
Oh,
another item, and
yeah.
it's this one's very special because it's not something you can find off the stores or anything like that. But when the movie was completed, Todd McFarlane of McFarlane Productions put together a little something for Industrial Light and Magic, who were responsible for the special effects for the movie. So there's this heavy Spawn movie bust, right?
Wow.
And as you can see on the bottom, it would say um, Industrial Light and Magic 1997. And it was one of those gifts for the completion of the movie, and this was very, very hard to find, and now it's here, part of the collection.
Yeah,
I would
that's
trade my
fantastic.
I would trade my Butterfree Spawn book for that.
All right.
Okay. Well, so no, as we wrap up our discussion, we're talking about all these fun things they did that got us excited about the movie. But let's talk about briefly the movie itself. Do you guys like the Spawn movie? Sterling, does it live up to your expectations? And even knowing all the stuff what could have been, do you like it in director's cut? Do you like theatrical cut? Where are you at?
I am shocked it wasn't nominated for Academy Award. I prefer the director's cut. There's some things that I like in the theatrical cut that wasn't in the director's cut, but I just I just kind of wish that it kind of pushed forward to be a little more R-rated with the director's cut. But the CGI is kind of is the one thing that's kind of uh, but overall I enjoy it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think, Ty?
I like it. I like it. I'll be in the Spawn room sometimes, and I'll pop it on the TV and just kind of like have it play in the background. I'll ignore the Malbolgia scenes just because the CGI. But then once that part is over, and I do prefer the Spawn kind of rediscovering his powers and kind of training before the final battle. So those scenes I really like because I get to see, the costume up close, and he's just in a more natural, non CGI pose, and you can see the detail they put on the costume, which I have seen in person. Um, Still negotiating into getting into the Spawn room, but the Spawn the Spawn costume is pretty cool, and you have to admire that they made a costume that is non CGI, that it was a costume that it was you can touch, and it's got all that that fiber and all of that, and it's great, right? That they put this costume on, the gloves came separately, then the mask comes on top, but the actual costume is so thick, and it's got all that detail, all those reds, and so I come to appreciate the practical effects that went on to the movie. So those scenes where you can see the practical effects, I really can dig in and start watching it for sure. I like it. It's watchable. Like people say, "Oh, I gotta watch that movie now," and I'm like, go in with low expectations, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like at the time, like I wasn't deep into Spawn. I pretty much only knew Spawn from Wizard magazine. So when I went to the theaters to see the movie, I was just like, okay, I'm just taking for granted this is what Spawn is, and I liked it at the time. Like I thought it was good enough. Like it as superhero movies go, it's cohesive. It makes sense. Like there's a movie I love called The Shadow, which is fun, but it is a mess, like in editing, and it's choppy, and the tone changes back and forth, and I love it to death. But I'm just like, Spawn is consistent throughout. Like you say, the practical effects are fantastic. I love the motorcycle scene. That is so cool. Like, yeah.
I'm shocked they didn't make a toy out of the Spawn cycle. You would assume that, especially like a evil Knievel type of like wind up thing that shoots out or something.
Well, and I'm curious, and now that you bring that up, to your knowledge, was there any type of Spawn costume, like Halloween costume or reproduction? Because Ty, you mentioned how great that suit is. So aside from owning the real one, one of the stunt, coordinator stunt performers' costumes, like, did they ever release like anything you could wear?
Not based off the movie look,
Hmm.
but there are Spawn costumes that were released for Halloween purposes. There are two different costumes, but none of them look as like the movie version. There
Okay.
are masks. There's two different masks based off the movie look, but not costumes like they did in prior years.
Okay, but that they did release a mask at least.
There's two masks for Spawn, and there's two masks for Clown.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay, well that's good to know.
it's like a latex mask you can put
Mhm.
on for Spawn.
So it would have been in the Halloween stores that October. Okay.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
And to your knowledge, guys, like has Todd ever made an official statement about how it came out? Like, does he like it? Does he feel like it should have been different? Obviously, he's been trying to push his own project, as a reboot for years and years, but how does he approach, the reaction to the 1997 film?
The stuff that I've read from based on that question to Todd, it's always going to have been in the lines of, for the time and for the technology that we had at the time, uh, we were limited. And with those limitations, we still released something that was pretty much up there. I think they were beat by Air Force One with Harrison Ford, that came in number one that weekend. But he accepts the fact that he was against Harrison Ford and an action movie. So coming in number two, it still was a high grossing movie with everything that they had, all the challenges they had, and the special effects limitations they had at the time. I think he accepts that, and he feels proud of the work that was done with those challenges in front of him. I don't think I hear or read the words regret, right? Because it kind of like George Lucas when he made Star Wars, he didn't have CGI, right? Years later, he felt like, oh, in the future I can go back and redo it. But the movie stands on its own as it is, with the practical effects especially.
I think that'd be hilarious if Todd McFarlane did a special edition of Spawn.
Please fix the Malboja.
I know.
So I've had like the director's cut forever, and I've watched that and have the DVD and stuff. But my buddy just gave me the theatrical cut, which is one I feel like you don't come across as often. But it
Yeah,
just
you don't.
cracks me. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't see that. The only way you can see it is on streaming for some reason. You would
yeah,
assume that'd be like a 2 disc or something re-release of both cuts, but yeah, it's kind of rare.
yeah. Well, I just found the DVD, but of the director's cut in the Walmart $5 bin. Still to this day, it was in there. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's kind of crazy, but
yeah. Speaking of which, found one at I think Walmart too.
oh, what do we
Right.
have here, Ty? Here we go.
Hey, these are factory sealed, by the way.
Okay.
You got that one, right?
Nice.
This one has like a holographic. I don't know if you can tell, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
the reds and the green kind of pop.
Yeah, I saw the eye flicker there. Yeah.
This one's the regular, non-shiny chromium, still factory sealed. Director's cut widescreen. Director's cut letterbox.
Ooh.
This one is director's cut digitally remastered.
Oh.
Yes, just because it's digital remastered.
Because they had probably just released the DVD, so we're like, we'll just transfer that to VHS. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Greek director's cut. And the Japanese.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, I wish they had made a little more unique covers, kind of like that one. The only ones you see is just the side of the face for some reason, just
Yeah,
that.
the only variation is it gonna have the cape in the background or is it not there? Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like. Yeah, it's interesting. You collect all those variations up above me here. I have all across that shelf. That's my variations of the movie Troop Beverly Hills from all over the world.
That's great.
I know everybody's like, really? That movie? It's like, yeah, that movie for me.
Oh, here's another one. This one is Spanish subtitles.
Oh, cool.
So the only way you could find that it was Spanish subtitle was on the side of the box. It would mention Spanish subtitle versions. There's so many versions. I always kind of like, oh, I see one that I don't have, but it goes back to what we said before. Todd has played the variant or variation game. I think he wrote the book on variations, and he applies that today with his DC multiverse figures, his comics, the Spawn Batman comic. How many covers are there? I think there's like about 50 or 100 different covers of them. So it goes back to 1992, 1994, 1997, where he even something as simple as a VHS, right? Oh, let's have a VHS non-shiny, and let's make a VHS with the shiny cover, right? Or let's use the movie poster cover, right? So, oh, and here's one thing I noticed. This one kind of like the Spawn figure pops, kind of like a 3D. Whereas there's this director's cut that is just flat, like there doesn't have that 3D finish.
Oh yeah, my version is embossed like that. Yeah, I could
There you
actually
go. Yeah.
feel
So
the.
there's an embossed and then there's non-embossed. And
Wow.
this is variance. And Todd has his fingerprints all over this stuff.
All right, well,
Wow.
guys, this has been a great discussion. Just thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this. And again, sharing your exclusives and your expertise and your knowledge, everything that is one of a kind experience here. Why don't you guys tell us where people can interact with you online, where they can see all that you have to offer day in and day out? So, Sterling, where are you at?
You can find me going through Tom McFarlane's trash, or you can find me at Spawn Archive on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also find me on YouTube at Daily Spawn Archive.
Awesome. And Ty, how about you?
You can find SpawnHunter on Instagram. Just search SpawnHunter. YouTube, SpawnHunter channel, and on Twitter at Pogoman or hashtag SpawnHunter.
All right. And hey, you know where to find us. We're on Twitter at Wizards Comics, on Instagram at Wizards_comics. You can check out the archive of over 200 plus episodes, lots of bonus episodes like this one at wizardscomics.com. But we want to thank you all for joining us and checking out this episode. Once again, thanks to Ty and Sterling for being here. And hey, until next time.
I'll see you in hell.
Yeah.
Spawn, if you can't beat it, no one can.
That one, good one.